campus. Oh gosh. Okay. Sometimes the buses don't give you that much space, but that bus driver was pretty nice. Hi, my name is Sam. I'm a junior here at Duke, and I'm doing a Program 2 major, which is where you design your own major. I designed mine in urban studies. The full title is Urban Studies, the Socio-Spatial Politics of the Built Environment. And I'm really interested in looking at theoretical questions about how we as humans inhabit space and how we take up space, but also how we move about space. So I'm particularly interested in the intersections of transportation and housing, and how economic mobility is often associated with a lack of physical mobility around campus. I grew up biking. I live in a very bike-friendly neighborhood just outside of Chicago. So I grew up being able to bike to the pool and to the library, bike to the local grocery store and pick up groceries for my parents. And that was just such a cool opportunity to be able to just get places. Even if I was too young to drive, I could still have that mobility and those opportunities to go places. Coming to Duke, I quickly realized that it's hard to get around without a car. Especially when you're on West Campus, you're sort of isolated, and there aren't that many Durham buses that get close enough to campus where students would feel encouraged to take the buses. Of course, we have our own buses, but they mostly go back and forth between East and West Campus. So you can't really get anywhere else besides East and West Campus. And of course we have bike lanes that aren't really bike lanes, because you can clearly see that there's people walking in them and taking up space that cyclists are supposed to be in. But a bike lane is supposed to be 4 feet to be considered an official bike lane, but these that we're riding on are not exactly that. They often have really bumpy pavement. The markings aren't that great. They're honestly just glorified shoulders. And you still have cars flying past you and really bad bumps like that. But I didn't start taking cycling seriously until I spent my summer after my freshman year of college in Detroit. I did a Duke Engaged program where I interned at the bike share program in the city, and I lived and worked in the city and commuted solely by bike. And it was definitely challenging. There were often places I wanted to get to but had to bike to, and sometimes that was, a pretty long bike ride or didn't really know where I was going. But it was it was a great way to see the city from a new lens. Big hill. And then, of course, there's a giant bump at the end. Okay, we're good. But it was such a great way to see the city from a new lens, where when you're in a car, you can't really see much, or you're focused on the road, or you're, doing something and you're distracted as a passenger. But when you're on a bike, you get to look up and explore and see the beautiful trees. Like right now it's the fall, and it's just gorgeous outside. When of course Durham has beautiful biking weather, even in the winter, for the most part. But when I was in Detroit, I took a Confident City cycling class, because before that I was still interested in biking, but a little concerned. I was really scared to take those left-hand turns where you had to dodge out in front of traffic. But that class really gave me the skills and the experience that I needed to feel comfortable biking in high volume traffic in a dense city like Detroit. The thing about Durham, though, is that it's not as dense. And sure, the speed limit on this road is 25 miles an hour, but I don't think anybody drives 25 miles an hour on this road. I've seen cars fly past me probably at 50 miles an hour, and here's me in my little bike lane that's not even really a bike lane. But it is scary. No matter how many buses go past you, I still get a little scared when a bus flies past me and leaves me like a foot of space where I can literally reach my hand out and touch it. I think Duke has an opportunity to see, like, there's not enough space, sir. Duke has an opportunity to promote a mode of transit that meets so many of the school's goals. For example, health and wellness. Biking is such good exercise because it turns transportation, something that we all do and something that's very mundane, into an active transportation. So you can hear me breathing, like, I'm tired. And biking is so good for that because it also, like, it makes me happy. I definitely feel that the more active I am, just the better I feel. The more engaged I feel in the environment, the more I feel like I can conquer. Biking is also a very sustainable form of transportation. Duke is trying to reach its carbon neutrality goal by 2024, I think it is. And they have a long way to go, especially with the number of single occupancy cars that are driven to campus. There are numerous opportunities for Duke to prioritize biking because it is so sustainable. But of course, before they can prioritize biking, they have to create an environment that is conducive to biking. And right now, Duke has a lot of work to do on that. For instance, this road is super bumpy, no bike lanes even as I'm going uphill. And then of course, there's grates on the side of the road, and rather than creating separate bike lanes, protected bike lanes, or even a cycle track between East and West Campus, they just put a stripe in front of the grate saying, "Sorry, that's in your way." But thank you for coming along on my bike ride to East Campus. I hope you learn more about what it's like to bike at Duke and what Duke can do to make biking better.